Ladies and gentlemen, the huge Big Ten matchup between the Ohio State Buckeyes and the Penn State Nittany Lions in college football week number 8 is officially here. And this game is extremely highly anticipated matchup, as this will have huge Big Ten implications and could potentially decide who wins the Big Ten East. In this game, the Penn State Nittany Lions have to travel to take on the Ohio State Buckeyes in Ohio Stadium, and this game will be played on Fox Big Noon Kickoff. Heading into this matchup, both of these teams are 6-0, and they are top of the Big Ten East Conference with the likes of Michigan too. So with both of these teams being undefeated, this game could potentially decide who ends up winning the Big Ten East this season and which Big Ten team will make it to the college football playoff. As of the recording of this video, the line for this game is not out for the over-under or the spread in this game. However, ESPN gives Ohio State a 63% chance to win this game. But I don't understand why, as both of these teams are extremely evenly matched. So this is going to be an absolutely huge game, so let's get into previewing it. Kicking it off, the offenses of these teams are very similar, as Penn State's offense is averaging 426 yards per game, while Ohio State's is averaging 443. And both of these quarterbacks are also very similar, as both of them are very inexperienced, as this is their first year starting for their respective teams. And at times, both have struggled. However, both of them have actually looked extremely good in their very first seasons. First up, we have Ohio State's quarterback Kyle McCord, who has completed 109 out of 170 for 1,651 yards, 11 touchdowns, and 1 interception this season. And for being his very first season, he's absolutely dicing up defenses and is looking like one of the top 10 quarterbacks in college football this year. And Penn State also has an extremely good quarterback, and their 5-star sophomore quarterback, Drew Allar, who has completed 118 out of 181 for 1,254 yards, 12 touchdowns, and 0 interceptions in his entire career. And yes, you heard that correctly, Drew Allar has the longest streak of completed passes without an interception, as Penn State's quarterback Drew Allar does not have a turnover in his entire college football career to this point. And honestly, this game is going to be pretty close between the quarterbacks, and honestly, the running backs are very similar too, as both of these teams have a two-headed running attack. As we all know, Penn State has two very good running backs, and they're both sophomores, in Kaytron Allen and Nicholas Singleton. This season, Kaytron Allen is leading the rushing attack for the Nittany Lions, as he has 78 carries for 375 yards with a 4.8 yards per rush average and 3 touchdowns this season. And right behind him is Nicholas Singleton, who has 89 carries for 362 yards and 6 touchdowns this season. And this rushing attack is obviously extremely good. However, Ohio State has a very good one too, led by their star running back Travion Henderson, who has 44 carries for 295 yards with a 6.7 average and 5 touchdowns this season. And their backup, Chip Trayanum, also has 51 carries for 235 yards and 3 touchdowns this season. So as you can see, both of these teams have an extremely good two-headed monster rushing attack, and it's going to be hard for both of these defenses to shut them down. So honestly, the offenses are pretty evenly matched at this point. However, Ohio State does take the slight edge, as they have a much better receiving core. And by receiver core, I mean the one receiver, Marvin Harrison Jr., who is an absolute beast in college football, and this season has 31 catches for 604 yards with a 19.5 average and 5 touchdowns this season. And right behind him is their star tight end, Cade Stover, who has 23 catches for 359 yards with a 15.6 average and 3 touchdowns this season. So Ohio State definitely has a slight edge in receiving. However, Penn State does have a pretty good receiver themselves in Keandre Lambert-Smith, who has 31 catches for 402 yards with a 13-yard average and 3 touchdowns this season. And right behind them is also their tight end, Theo Johnson, who has 16 catches for 167 yards and 2 touchdowns this season. However, what could be the difference maker in this game is the defenses. Both of these defenses are absolutely amazing, as Penn State's defense is only allowing 193 yards per game, while Ohio State is allowing 263. Both of these defenses are amazing, as they are two out of the top 3 defenses in college football this year, and let's guess who the other team is. Oh, no surprise, it's another Big Ten school. And of course, it's the Michigan Wolverines. However, Penn State could have the best defense in the Big Ten in the country, as they have an amazing front 7. Their front 7 is getting after the quarterback this year, as they have 27 sacks this season, and this is all due to their loaded secondary too. So Penn State has extremely good depth and an extremely good defense. So now let's take a look at Ohio State's. Ohio State's defense is structured much differently, as they do not have as good of a front 7, only having 10 sacks this season. However, they do have a better secondary, led by their star cornerback, Denzel Burke, and this defense is going to be extremely hard for Drew Allar to throw against. However, ultimately, I think that the offenses are pretty similar in this game, and Penn State edges them out in the defensive category. So that's why I think Penn State will win this game. And I think Penn State will finally get their first win over Ohio State in 6 years, as they defeat the Ohio State Buckeyes 35-28.